want to tell you about a conversation I had with my neighbor Janet last spring. She was 49, great career, house paid down to 60%, 2 kids almost through college. From the outside, she had done everything right. Then one afternoon, she told me something that stopped me cold. "I ran the numbers last night," she said. "If I keep going exactly like this, same job, same savings rate, same everything, I'll need to work until I'm 74. 74. Not because she was reckless, not because she never saved, but because she had quietly made a series of decisions in her 40s that felt completely reasonable and were mathematically catastrophic. The 40s are the most dangerous decade in personal finance. Not because of the mistakes that feel like mistakes, but because of the ones that feel like wisdom. Today, I'm going to walk you through 8 of them. Not to scare you, because every single one is fixable, if you catch it now. First, let's understand why the 40s are different from every other decade. In your 20s, mistakes are cheap. Time heals everything. $1 you invest at 25 has 40 years to compound. In your 40s, the math shifts. $1 you failed to invest at 45 has only 20 years before the typical retirement window. The same compounding engine that worked for you in your 20s is now working against you if you delay. Here is the brutal version of that truth. $1 invested at 25 becomes roughly $21 by age 65 at 7%. The same dollar invested at 45 becomes just $3.87. You are not just behind if you delay in your 40s, you're 5 times behind. And there's a second thing that makes the 40s dangerous. You're finally earning real money, peak income decade for most people. And peak income creates a very specific kind of financial blind spot, the feeling that you can fix it later. You cannot. Later is the trap. Mistake number 1, counting your home as your retirement plan. This is the most common and the most dangerous financial belief in the 40s. Here's the math the real estate optimism skips. The average U.S. home has appreciated at about 4.3% annually over the past 30 years. Sounds good. But once you subtract property taxes, insurance, maintenance averaging 1.5% per year, and transaction costs of 6 to 8% when you sell, your real return drops to roughly 1 to 2% annually. The S&P 500 over the same period, 10.5% annually. Your house is not a retirement vehicle. It is a place to live, a wonderful thing to own, but not a substitute for invested assets. The fix is not to sell your house. The fix is to stop mentally counting the equity as your retirement number and to build a separate investment portfolio alongside it. Mistake number 2, putting your children's college fund ahead of your own retirement. I want to say something that sounds harsh before I explain why it is actually the loving choice. Your children can borrow for college. You cannot borrow for retirement. There is no retirement loan. There is no scholarship for underfunded 65-year-olds. The only source of retirement income is what you built or what your children will need to help subsidize, which is the real gift you give your kids, your own financial independence. The math makes this even clearer. $1 diverted from your 401k at 44 to a 529 plan costs you $7.61 in retirement wealth because the 401k money compounds tax-advantaged for 20 more years and the 529 does not. The sequence matters enormously. Max your retirement accounts first, then and only then contribute to college savings with what remains. Mistake number 3, expanding your lifestyle to match your peak salary. The 40s are typically peak earning years, and peak earnings come with enormous social pressure to match the lifestyle. The bigger house, the premium car lease, the private school tuition, the annual international vacation. None of these are wrong in isolation. Together, they create lifestyle lock-in, a spending floor so high that your savings rate becomes structurally impossible to increase. Here's what the transcript from one of the most watched personal finance videos in history makes clear. Savings rate is the master variable, not income, not investment returns, your savings rate. Moving your savings rate from 15% to 35% cuts your required working years nearly in half, regardless of how much you earn. Moving it from 35 to 50% can cut it in half again. The 40s trap is that people are earning the most they've ever earned, spending the most they've ever spent, and saving the same percentage they always have. The numbers go up, the ratio stays flat, the clock runs out. We are halfway through the 8 mistakes, and I want you to stay with me, because the first 3 were the ones most people have heard of in some version. The next 5 are the ones that are doing the most damage right now, today, quietly. Mistake 4 involves a number your employer is not telling you. Mistake 5 involves a financial product almost everyone in their 40s owns and almost nobody understands. Mistake 6 is the one Janet made that put her at age 74. You're going to want to see these. Mistake number 4, not knowing what your 401k is actually costing you. Most people know they have a 401k. Almost nobody knows their expense ratio. Here is what that ignorance costs you. The difference between a 0.05% expense ratio index fund and a 1.0% actively managed fund sounds tiny. On a $50,000 balance at 45 compounded to 65, that difference is $64,000 in lost wealth. On a $200,000 balance, $256,000. $250,000 to a fund manager because you never checked the fee column. The research is unambiguous and has been for 30 years. Actively managed funds underperform index funds in 85 to 92% of cases over any 15-year period. The higher fee buys worse performance. The fix takes 20 minutes. Log into your 401k portal, look for a column called Expense Ratio or Annual Fee. Switch to the lowest cost index fund available. It's almost always a total market or S&P 500 fund. Do it once, it runs on its own forever. Mistake number 5. Getting the insurance equation wrong in your 40s. There are 2 versions of this mistake, and they are equally expensive. Version 1, being underinsured on disability. The Social Security Administration data shows that 1 in 4 people will experience a disability that prevents them from working for 90 days or more before they reach retirement age. In your 40s, peak earning years, being unable to work for 6 months without income could wipe out years of savings in one event. Version 2, being overinsured on whole life. Whole life insurance products are heavily marketed to people in their 40s as a wealth-building tool. They are almost universally an expensive way to get a return of 1 to 3% on money that could be earning 7 to 10% in a simple index fund. The fix: make sure you have long-term disability coverage through your employer or privately. And if you have a whole life policy, compare its cash value growth rate to what the same premiums would earn in a low-cost index fund over 20 years. The math almost always tells you to switch. Mistake number 6. This is Janet's mistake, and it is more common than any other on this list. Never calculating your actual retirement number. Most people in their 40s have a vague sense of, I need to save more. They do not have a specific number. Without the number, there is no urgency. Without urgency, nothing changes. Here is the number you need to calculate right now, today, this week. Take your expected annual expenses in retirement, multiply by 25. That is your financial independence number, based on the 4% rule that the research literature has validated for over 30 years. If you need $60,000 a year to live comfortably, your number is $1.5 million. If you need $80,000, your number is $2 million. Then go look at your current portfolio balance. The gap between those two numbers is what you are working with. Now you can build a plan. Now you have urgency calibrated to reality, not anxiety calibrated to nothing. Janet had never run this calculation. When she finally did, her gap was $840,000. That was the number that produced age 74. Once she knew it, she could attack it. Within 18 months, she had restructured her savings rate and closed the gap to $480,000, a manageable 12-year timeline, not a hopeless 25-year one. Mistake number 7. Treating high-interest debt as a permanent fixture. The average American household in their 40s carries $7,400 in credit card debt at an average interest rate of 22%. Let's be precise about what that means. That $7,400 costs $1,628 per year in interest. At a 7% investment return, that same $1,628 per year invested from age 44 to 65 would grow to $76,000. You were not just paying 22% on your debt. You were losing the compounding on the money that could have been invested instead. The real cost of that credit card debt is closer to 29% annually in opportunity terms. The most powerful guaranteed return available to any investor in their 40s is paying off a 22% credit card. No index fund beats it. No bond beats it. No investment vehicle on earth offers a guaranteed 22% return. The fix is not complicated. List every debt by interest rate. Attack the highest rate first. Every dollar freed from debt service is a dollar that can now compound for you instead of against you. Mistake number 8. And this is the one that ties every other mistake together. Waiting. Waiting for the market to stabilize, waiting for the debt to be fully paid off, waiting for the raise, waiting for the kids to finish college, waiting for clarity, waiting for the right moment. There is a concept in the viral personal finance world called Coast FI. The idea is that if you can get your portfolio to a certain threshold by your mid-40s, the math of compounding will carry it to retirement size on its own, even if you never invest another dollar. The people who hit that number are not the highest earners. They're the ones who started early and stayed consistent. They did not wait for perfect. Every year you wait costs you roughly 3 to 5 times its own value in retirement wealth because you're losing the most powerful years of compounding, not the middle years, the late years, when the portfolio is large enough to generate its own momentum. 8 mistakes, 8 corrections. Let me give you the framework in clean sequence. 1. Stop counting your home equity as your retirement plan. Build a separate investment portfolio alongside your home. 2. Retirement accounts first, college savings second, every time in that order. 3. At your next income increase, any increase, route 50% of it into investments before it becomes lifestyle. You will not miss what you never see. 4. Spend 20 minutes this week auditing your 401k expense ratios. Switch to the lowest cost index fund available. One decision, permanent effect. 5. Check your disability coverage. Compare your whole life policy to a term plus invest alternative. Let the math decide. 6. Calculate your retirement number this week. Annual expenses times 25. Look at your current balance. Name your gap. Now you have a real target. 7. List your debts by interest rate. Attack the highest rate first. Every dollar freed from interest compounds for you instead of against you. 8. Start now. Not when the market is perfect, not when the debt is gone, not after the next raise. The perfect moment is a fiction. The compounding clock is not. 8 mistakes. 8 corrections, 1 decade to make them count. The 40s are not a financial emergency. They're a financial turning point, and every single person watching this has enough runway to change the outcome if they start this week, not next year. Here is the challenge I want to leave you with, the same one the best personal finance minds I have studied give their audiences. This week, do one thing. Calculate your retirement number. Annual expenses times 25. Look at your current invested balance. Write down the gap. Just that. One number, one honest look. It will either confirm you're on track, which is great news, or it will show you a gap that you now have time to close, which is even better news than staying comfortable and unaware. And then come back to the comments and tell me which of these 8 mistakes hit closest to home for you. Which one are you working on this month? I read every single comment. Drop your number, your mistake, your question, and I will reply. If this video gave you one number or one decision that changes your direction, share it with someone in their 40s who needs it. Not to alarm them, because the math is fixable and they deserve to know it. Like this video if the compounding math changed how you see your timeline. Subscribe for a new analysis every week. No hype, just the numbers that actually matter. I'll see you in the next one.